Welcome to the CONEXPO-CON podcast. It has been a while since we have last spoken to you, but we are back and we are gearing up for more. If you have been a loyal listener of the podcast in the past, you might notice something new here. My name is Taylor White. I'm from Ken White Construction. I'm a third-gen business owner here in Ontario, Canada, and I want to thank Missy for her time as a host. But I'm excited to be the new official voice of the CONEXPO-CON podcast. I look after the marketing for my business here in Ontario. My grandfather started it in 1968, and I'm carrying on the torch that he lit a while back. So on the podcast, we're going to be coming to you 1 to 2 times per month and with exclusive stories and insider secrets for some of the most accomplished people in the construction industry. Starting with today, we have my main man, the original Instagram gangster, I call him, Scott Colclough. He didn't tell me how to pronounce his last name correctly, so that's how I'll go with it. AKA Pushysix, and we're going to talk about his life, his business, and his experiences with CONEXPO and the upcoming 2023 show. Let's get into it. Scott, what's going on?
Hey man, how's it going?
It's going good, dude. I'm happy to have you on. Thanks for doing this. And I know I said the other day on Instagram, you've been on my list of people that I've wanted to talk to forever. And I want to touch on your roles in the last CONEXPO as well as coming up to the 2023 CONEXPO, CONAG show. But I want to give people a brief summary kind of maybe about, I want to talk about you and where you're from and what you've kind of created and what you're doing now, what you're all about, because I know that, and it's super corny, and I mean this honestly, but whenever I first was on Instagram and not doing, I was just, creeping. I wasn't on there doing anything with my business. And I remember seeing Pushysix, and it was actually the first time that I saw you. You were at a different trade show, and it was incredible watching. I was like, man, this guy's created this following around this, and you inspired me. And I'm sure that you've inspired a lot of other people. So maybe kind of just talking about, what do you do and how'd you start doing what you did, to give people a bit of a background?
Well, I guess what I do now is a little bit different than what I used to do. It's evolved throughout the years, I guess, and for the better. So I've just always been trying to find a way to help teach people about construction, inspire people like yourself. There's been lots of people, which was kind of my goal with all of this purpose. I try to do everything with some type of purpose, and this too, right? So I was an operator for many years, and then I moved up to a foreman quite fast. I have a very broad spectrum of knowledge in construction. I've worked multiple positions, right? So that, I guess, helps me become who I am today. I have a lot of knowledge, I guess, in general, which I try and pass down.
It shows.
Yeah, well, I try, right? I'm not trying to be better than anybody. I'm just trying to pass down knowledge. No one in construction is doing a damn thing to help anybody, really. There's some people, it's changing. But for a long time, it was really hard to learn about construction, get a job in construction. So I was like, hey, I have the skill set, use my background to try and help people, right? So it was very hard for me to come up in construction. To be honest, I had to lie to get my first dozer job. Wow. But not everyone can do that. You need a certain level of passion to make that happen. Sink or swim, right? So yeah, it was tough. But throughout the years, I kind of began as an operator, foreman. I began posting online 2011, I think. Wow. Got a YouTube channel, and then it evolved from there. And then I seen things like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So I kind of backed off of YouTube and kind of went full onto Instagram. With the hopes to funnel or direct people from Instagram to my YouTube channel, because that's where I could make money, right? But I kind of lost that and just kind of stuck with Instagram because it's like, wow, I can reach a lot of people and it's interactive. So I found myself teaching people about construction, and, my posts in the past, especially I'll put 3-4 hours into a post, right?
Yeah. It shows.
Takes so much work. Yeah. So I'm trying to be different, and I don't compete with people. I just do my own thing, and I don't really care what else is going on. I just do me, and that's the way I've always been.
Yeah, that honestly shows, like, through what I see of you, and just you kind of like, I feel like you don't give yourself almost enough credit. Like, you have this drive that is pretty infectious. Like, just listening to you talk, and you make it sound so nonchalant, but I mean, everything I do, I have purpose. Like, when you say that, like that, a lot of people can't even recognize that about themselves. And like, for you, that you understand that, and you're doing it for a purpose, you're doing it for other people. And it's pretty incredible that you've been able to grow what you have online, and not even care about what people think, or going out and trying something new. So what are you doing different now? I know the answer, but I want you to explain that. Like, what are you doing? What's different from you now? Like, you're in a studio now. I saw, like, you have editors, you have, like, you're doing staff now. That's what, that's like the 2 feet in process that I wanted to talk to you about. Was like, what made you take this leap into, like, all right, I'm in it now, I'm doing this now, versus what you were doing before? Like, what's the difference there?
Well, I have a grand vision, and I have purpose. So I'm trying to do things with a larger purpose than myself. I'm doing things for the industry, for the next generation. It sounds kind of cheesy, but that gives me so much drive to do what I do. So yeah, I retired from my daytime job in 2018, I think, and I was a one-man show doing YouTube, Instagram, all forms of media, and I just can't keep up with everything. So I recently took the giant jump, risked everything, took every penny I own. I cut my lifestyle into a quarter.
Wow.
Got rid of all the fancy stuff, and risked everything to start a business where I can really make more of an impact and help even more people, even outside of construction. But my main focus is construction, obviously. And that being said, yeah, I got an office. I hired a bunch of people. I'm one guy and I can't do everything. So to be better, I hire people that has better skill sets than me, right? So now I can achieve anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I risked everything. Now I run a company, marketing, film production, sound design, like everything, graphic design, websites, everything, right? So
yeah, it's crazy seeing you do that, man. I mean, like, I totally see it. I mean, like, 2 feet in approach, like you said, like, you put a lot on the line, and you're doing it. And like, that takes a lot of guts to do that, man. And so super impressed by you actually doing that. And like you said, you're not only inspiring people that or doing it for people that are in construction necessarily, even though that is your main focus. But I see, like, some of the people that you're hiring as well too, like, necessarily they don't have a construction background, but you're like, hey, like, I'll teach you, I'll show you. And like, it takes a big man to stand there and go, listen, I know what I'm good at, but I can't do everything. And I will hire people that are better at me doing those things than I am.
absolutely. So yeah, I'm trying to hire younger people, like in their 20s. I'm now 41, so
No
I'm getting a
way.
little bit up there, right? So yeah, like the younger people can connect with kind of the people that we're trying to inspire in ways that I can't, right? So yeah, I try and hire everyone with at least some type of background in construction, because that helps, right? The thing I want to do is have us market construction companies in a way that other people can't, because we have such a big background in construction itself.
Yeah,
Who
that's
better
huge.
to teach people about construction than people who live it or have lived it, right?
It's a super, super niche skill set that you have. And I know this firsthand. I'm not doing it on the scale that you're doing it, but I just hired a, videographer / editor, and we were on site the other day, and I was using my little drone, and I was getting a shot, and he just like turns to me, and like, he's never shot construction before. And he's like, how did you know to like position the drone there and like know to go over the right hand side of the truck. I'm like, well, the stockpile was on the left, and I know that he's going to boom up when the truck's ready there, and he honks. So I knew that it was time to start to, like, how to operate on a construction site, and you also know how to do the multimedia side of it. That is such a niche that I think people don't understand, and I'm still comprehending it. It's such an important thing to have doing what you're doing. So if you have those two things, you'll be successful at it.
Yeah, well, I will be at anything I put my mind to, because if I do something, that's what I do, right? I give it everything I got. And this is not any different. This is a great example of me doing exactly that.
That's so crazy. Like you said, you mean at 41, which is still relatively young. But I mean, at 41, you're like, I'm putting everything on the line, and I'm going balls to the wall, and I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's crazy, man. I think that's awesome. That's pretty badass.
Just, I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to help the industry, help people. I love helping people.
Yeah.
And when I help people, I don't expect anything in return. And that is so rare. I wish there was more people that would do that, but I don't know, man. I'm just being me, doing what I do, trying to make a difference. And that's kind of where I'm at.
It's showing 100%. To switch gears a bit here, where obviously I want to talk more about you. But this is looped around talking about you as well. Because of what you've created and who you are and what you started on Instagram, and, started doing this journey in 2011, at the 2020 CONEXPO show, you were on a live tech talk with Ryan Priestley from Priestley Demolition, correct?
I sure was.
I want to ask, like, how did it feel being at, like, that's a big thing to be asked at the world's largest construction exposition. I mean, like, to be able to go there and sit on a panel and talk to people about this, like, how did that feel?
It felt great, but the thing with me is I don't think about that stuff. I just, I achieve one thing and my mind's already on the next couple, right? But yeah, to stop and think about it, that's amazing. Ryan Priestley is such a huge guy, especially in your area. Oh, yeah. And since then, he's turned into a good friend. And yeah, but the CONEXPO talk was great. I was honored to be a part of it. I love CONEXPO. I love what they do versus other trade shows. It is the greatest one, I feel. Worldwide, there's others, but I like CONEXPO more because it's more North American, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, it hits closer to home. I think that's kind of what it is. It hits closer to home, and like you realize, I think what's so cool about like a CONEXPO is that you realize how much of a small world it is. When you go down there and you see somebody from like one town over almost, but then you find people from across the globe, and it's like, this is crazy, and them, especially even being on social media. It's like. And you get to meet people that you see on social media as well, too. Like, I think that's the cool thing about it, too, is like actually putting like a real face, not like just like IRL, like in real life, like seeing them. It's pretty surreal almost at these shows. And just being able to sit up there and talk. And I'm sure like the people that got to sit there and listen to your live tech talk, it was pretty awesome, man. And you're humble, obviously. You're super humble. But I think that's a pretty big accomplishment, a good notch on the belt to talk about, I would say.
Yeah, and I would like to mention about CONEXPO, another reason why I liked him so much and I like doing this, that's why I said yes to doing this.
Yeah.
CONEXPO is so ahead of their time, as in, I'll use the last show for an example, and even this podcast. They're doing things, they're involving people like me when other people don't even see the value, let's say, in kind of what I do, or involving younger people, or just trying to direct people into construction, right? They're so ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
I didn't do a podcast myself. When everyone else was doing podcasts, I didn't do one because to me, the CONEXPO podcast was the first OG podcast in construction. I have so much respect for them for that. Awesome. And, they had me on the podcast. For me, that was huge. That was huge.
Yep. Yeah, no, I was going back and I was looking and obviously listening to previous ones, and I was like, this is not going to be his first time on this, but I want Scott on this again and you're the first, dude. I mean, like, yeah, I don't think we picked the perfect guest for this. As far as 2023 ConExpo show, I mean, I guess we kind of were talking about that as well too. I know I'm excited for it. What are you looking forward to at the 2023 show, and do you have any big plans for it, or yeah, what are you looking forward to?
I have plans, but I can't tell you everything. But yeah,
it.
I'm excited. I'm big on technology, and I can't wait to see what else is coming. I know some things that are coming that I can't talk about. I recently made somewhat of a deal with Hexagon. So we're going to see them there. They're going to have some cool stuff.
Oh man.
And I recently went to California with a company, test driving a remote control bulldozer.
Hey.
A D10. So we're going to see
just a D10,
that.
just a casual,
Just a D10
remote control. No big.
So yeah, I'm pumped to see kind of their tech at the show, and others too, right? Every brand kind of uses that show to premiere their latest greatest stuff, and I love construction and I love tech. That combined, it's like I'm in heaven. So
yeah. No, I totally agree. It's cool because it's like it's the best of the best, right? It's all the highlights. You get to see everything that is like you almost. So this is how I explain it. It's like all the cool stuff that you see on people's Instagrams, but in person.
Mm-hmm.
It's really it's something exciting. Well, I'm looking forward to definitely seeing you there as well too. So ConExpo, obviously, we definitely want to reach out and talk about the podcast as well, but I like you as a person and talking to you as a person. So what kind of your own battles, this is what I find interesting. And, like when we were talking, you're like, hey, nothing's off the limits, which I respect because I'm the same way. I'm an open book. I got nothing to hide. Then I feel like that's the best way to run your life. But what are some of your own battles that you've had in the industry over the years? And this is something that I wrote down to ask you because I think that you might have an interesting response or maybe not, but I feel like you've learned a lot being on it enough times and now kind of transitioning to something else. Same thing, but different, we'll call it. Yeah, like what can you share about that?
How real do you want me to get?
Well, I mean, like I want to hear it, dude. I mean, I want to know, and like, what battles have you had to overcome, and that maybe other people doing this have done? Like, what personal stories of that can you share of what you've learned over the years?
Alrighty. Yeah. So I came up in heavy construction in a much different time than it is now.
Yeah.
It was plagued with drugs and alcohol and wearing shorts to work with no shirt and just.
Were you in Alberta?
I was in Alberta. Yeah.
Yeah, Alberta. Yeah. And for people listening, sorry not to cut you off, but that almost was a different level than where I'm from, Ontario. You guys out there, it was way more savage. And even now, the difference is there too. But I know what you're saying. I just want people to understand that it is super, super heavy blue collar and like rough, tough, what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. We're kind of like the Texas, Canada, right? So out here, it's still kind of pretty cowboy. It's getting better, but
totally.
So there's a challenge trying to maybe keep your stuff together and not get caught up in that. But, I've dealt with some addictions and stuff like that, like years ago now. But that's something that was huge in the industry. And you would see it at work, people doing stuff at work. Like you couldn't escape it, right? You just had to do your best to kind of get away from it. Now it's changing a lot. It's a lot safer, but and I had to work out of town. I have kids. So, that causes issues with a marriage and stuff. So I got divorced and I went through hell with that and had to keep working. As upset as I was, I had to go to work every day and I couldn't stop, right? So I have kids that depend on me. and stuff like that. So divorce, there's a bunch of unfair things that happen on the job site. Like the thing that really gets me is a foreman will choose their buddy for a position over someone who deserves it.
Yep.
So that's something that many of us have had to deal with, no matter what region. That happens everywhere. And things like not getting training, like they expect you to have experience, but you can't get the job unless you have experience, but they won't give you experience, like this whole thing. So like, how does one get in construction?
Yeah, no, totally.
That's getting a little bit better. Guys are now investing in new hires, and people, they have no choice. There's no one to work.
Choice. Yeah.
So they've been forced into it. But there's stuff like that too. I don't know. I could keep going on. I could ramble on about a bunch of challenges, but
no, man. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I didn't know about that stuff. But it sounds like you're just a strong guy, like I think you're mentally strong as well too. And I mean, like, we all deal with our own battles, obviously, in our own heads, like, hey, me too. But, you definitely sound like you've kind of been through it, and it's pretty impressive. Like, staying on the right path, especially in blue collar work. Like, I was out in Alberta for a bit, when I was 18 and 19, and I totally know what you mean by sticking in the right crowd. It's easy to go left or right. You want to hang out with the guys that are doing this after work, or are you going to be a loner and do nothing yourself? And I chose, kind of doing nothing by myself, because I remember when I was going out there, my parents were like, hey, like, you could either do this or you can do that. Like, remember why you're going out there. And I went out there to make money and to work. But a lot of people have a hard time, pushing away with that. So yeah. And some people, you get caught up in your own battles as well too. That's life, right? But I feel like it's interesting, everything that's kind of led you to where you are now, right? And it's both impressive and inspiring to hear that. So going forward and looking forward, not so much about the past now. Going forward, what is Scott? What is Pushysix? What are you doing? You're 5 years from now. Like, where are you 5 years from now in your vision? Like what's your mission?
It evolves all the time. I have different ideas. Like I have an end goal. But that goal is always going to change. So I'm never really ever going to reach my end goal, because it evolves all the time. What happens is I have ideas, I work towards it. If it fails, I pick the next one. And it's just this constant moving ahead, trying to succeed at things and build different types of things. Like, yes, right now I actually have more than one company that I'm doing. So I have something on the side which I'll premiere one day, which will be, in my opinion, game changing, especially when trying to hire new people for construction.
Awesome.
Doing some stuff that's never been done. But yeah, it evolves, right? I'm on the path of trying to help people. So I want to help people on a very large scale in construction, outside of construction, from employment, mental health, training on even just from machines to how to I losing my thought on that one there, but no, I just have a plethora of things that it's kind of hard to explain all at once. It won't really make sense to you. I see it, but
you have the same brain as me. I know where you're going with that. But I have the same thing. My words, my brain's running faster than my words coming out. And I got so much going on some of the times. And then I literally halfway through a conversation will be like, wait, what? You're this. Yeah, that's why you're successful. And I'm like, that's huge. Like I know exactly. You're not doing that because you're spacing out. You're doing that because you just got so much in your head coming out, and it's not going quick enough to hear. Yeah, man. I mean, when you say you want to help it, like, what's the driving factor behind? Because you mentioned about helping people a lot. Like, what's the driving factor behind, like, you actually want, like, why do you care? Why do you care to help people? I think that's really important.
Because no one else does.
Yeah.
Someone has to. I don't know why I'm like this. I grew up this way. I don't know. I just have this extreme drive to help people and work for a bigger purpose than myself.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
don't know.
impressive. Yeah, no, it's super impressive. I mean, you touch on it a lot, and it's a quality that, I mean, a lot of people are just kind of looking out for themselves, and it's pretty impressive that, like, although you do have to look after yourself, you care heavily about helping other people in the industry, and people not even in the industry as well too. And I feel like by sharing your story, it actually kind of really helps people in that sort of ways too, like hearing where you're from and what you've been brought up with, and maybe some of the battles that you've dealt with, that those are all really interesting as well. So where do you, I guess, like you kind of mentioned where you see yourself, going in 5 years, and you have lots of plans and ambition, which no matter what you do, you'll be successful at. I know that for sure. If you need to meet them, they're here at the CONEXPO-CON. You'll meet industry leaders and friends. You'll build new relationships in the community. You'll find the equipment, services, and the people within your construction field. Registration is now open, so save 20% off show admission with the promo code podcast20. Again, promo code is podcast20. I'll be going. Scott, you guys heard, is for sure going, and tons of people will be going. It's just going to be an awesome time. So check out CONEXPO-CON for more info. As far as social media as a whole, because I feel like no matter what you do, social media is still going to have a strong point. Whether it's issuing a new product, you're going to have to you promote that on social media. Whether it's building your brand, it's social media. Where do you see Instagram and social media in the construction space heading? Like what do you see as far as trends? Like, I remember, sorry, I'm the king of asking a question and answering it myself, but I want to hear your take. But I remember when I first went on Instagram, and I was doing edits to, like, some Skrillex dubstep stuff, and there wasn't too many people doing that. But now I'm sure you go on Instagram Reels. I mean, you were doing it as well too. And I remember a guy, Dirt Gang, he's down in North Carolina or South Carolina. He was making bulldozer videos with these crazy mixes, and like there was a handful of guys and girls doing it. But it wasn't like everybody. And now I feel like so many people do that, and it's finding that next style of content that I find is like riveting for me. Like, okay, like what's really hitting? What's new? What's cutting edge? So where do you see Instagram and social media heading in the construction space? Or like what excites you about content on construction on social media?
Okay, well, I'll start with kind of how it's changed. So yes, we used to make sick edits with like tons of production time going into it. Now they've changed everything to compete with TikTok, so it's all now the short-based stuff. Even one clip with no cuts, anything that has taken over everything, and it pisses me off because I got these big fancy cameras.
I agree,
and it's geared towards using your cell phone with single cuts, like.
I hear you. You know what bugs me about it is I'll spend, like, honestly, sometimes, 4 or 5 hours on a 15 to 20 second clip, right? And then uploading it to TikTok, and it's like, I don't know, maybe 3,000-4,000 views. And then you upload something that is replying to a question or just a one take on the job site with my iPhone, and it's like 30,000-40,000 views, and I'm getting a bunch of followers from it and engagement. And I'm like, man, what the heck? Why couldn't you guys like the one that I spent 5 hours on? It's weird. It's interesting knowing what people are clicking on now.
Yeah, well, like I think the guys who run those platforms, they're experimenting, right? This has never been done before, so they're trying to see what works, what doesn't. I think they'll kind of scale this back a little bit and kind of go back to what we were all doing before, and just have like a balance between the longer stuff and the shorter stuff. I hope so, because it's really hard to teach people or connect with people like with a short little clip.
It's hard to tell a story, I find.
Yeah, that does nothing. So to me, good content is more than just a good picture or a good reel or even a good video. Have some substance to it. Have a purpose for your post, not just trying to attract followers. Like,
I know.
say something, anything, your opinion, teach people. I don't care what it is, put value into it.
Yeah, that's super important. I mean, I think the exact same, and I get caught up in that too, right? I think we can. I mean, definitely me. I don't want to speak for you, but I definitely sometimes you're like, you're doing something and you just like throw it up, and like now Instagram's new update. I freaking hate it so far. Because it's like TikTok now. I don't know if you've updated Instagram lately, but it was just like 2 days ago for me. It just swapped, and it's all like the background's black, and like you can't see multiples at the same time. It's literally just like a TikTok, and you're scrolling, and I'm like, this is driving away captions. Like that's what I'm noticing descriptions. Like I can't. People aren't going to click more to see descriptions now because the whole thing, they just want it to be video or picture top to bottom. And I'm like, so how am I supposed to talk about this photo or the story behind a photo when people aren't going to do that anymore because they just want to keep scrolling, like or follow. Okay, great. Scroll to the next. So like you said, like hopefully the longer form stuff does come out so we can actually tell a story that's behind it, right?
Yeah. And if not, a person, which I will do, I will evolve with it and try to crack the code of what works. I've always trying to do that type of stuff. You may have to become the content, become the short reel yourself, right? And through 15 seconds, you can spit out your description, what would have explained, right? And do it through a video. I don't know where this is going. Like,
it's interesting.
It's hard. Yeah, it is. It's hard to say, but I don't know where it's going.
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely shocks me, and I try to put a pin on it every time and think that I have something figured out, but I don't. But I mean, there's definitely, I think, a lot more people doing Instagram and social media for their construction companies now than there was before, and I feel like it's because of guys like you that actually, kind of went out and started doing this. Like you inspired me to do what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So like, I think that that's a good thing, but I also feel like there's so many people doing it now that it's an influx. And over time, I feel like you get some form of overlap or copying of it's kind of like, man, this guy's content is just like this guy's content, or like, I've already seen this before, cause like everyone's doing that. So it's really important to try to stay different. So like you said, like you're trying to figure out it sounds like you spend a lot of time trying to understand that, but like, how do you go about trying to put a pinpoint on like being genuine and like having different style content than anybody else?
Staying authentic to me is my single biggest thing that I try to do. I don't watch what other people do. I do not care. Like I said, I do not compete. I see what other people do. I want to do the opposite of what other people are doing. I want to do what I want to do. And yeah, so the way I do that is I'm very cautious of how much time I spend on it and what I'm watching. I don't want that to affect maybe the content that I create or my future content, right? So, but I'm watching, I see what everybody does, and it's a lot of the same stuff. And to me, that's not impressive. That does not impress me. You're not doing anything. You're not original. You're not authentic. I won't name any names, but there's a lot of it.
I hear you, man. And I think what's interesting about your content is like you definitely can tell that you're like, hey man, this is me, take it or leave it, love me or hate me. This is who I am. And I feel like that's what inspires people, is like seeing that. And like even in your posts and like some of your write-ups, like even my dad, like he'll send me some of your stuff sometimes, be like, did you see Pushy's stuff? Did you see what he said in his vid? Like, that is awesome. He doesn't care. And I love that. And that's what we both shared, like love about your content, is just like, it shows that like you don't want to just conform and do what everyone else is doing. And it's about being authentic and being yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I must say, I've been watching your stuff, and I don't know who films your stuff, but he's killing it. You're putting out lots of good stuff. So
yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I just got a new guy doing it. He started 2 weeks ago, and Yeah, it was the same thing as you, man. It was listen, I don't have the time to do it anymore. And it's important, I feel like, when you're running a business, to understand what you're good at, what you're not good at. And like, yes, I enjoyed editing and I still do edit. And I enjoyed filmmaking and I still do, my little edits and stuff, but it's important to know that I needed to take a step back and do something else with the business, which is what you're doing. And I'm excited to kind of see your journey in that as well too, and kind of like grow from there and see where you take it next. As far as, content and staying up with the trends and whatnot. So what platforms are you kind of diving into right now? Are you going to TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or anything like that?
So right now I'm trying to focus on the main two, which is TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
You need to evolve with the times, and if it's geared towards short reels and stuff, that's what I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally hear you there. Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of people are going towards the short reels and kind of staying along that path of the shorter form content. And I guess we'll see a lot of that too at the ConExpo podcast and or the ConExpo show. And as we lead up to ConExpo, the content that people are producing around it. But if there was like one or two booths that you had to talk about being super excited about seeing at the show, are you allowed to single out one or two? Can you say that? Or is that something that's like, maybe you have your own little project that you're more excited about?
I don't know. Like, I love the cat booth. They knock it out of the park every single time.
Well, your t-shirt's cat too, so.
Yeah, and my tattoos. And
you're a big cat guy, right?
Yeah, I am.
Obviously.
Yeah, no, I am. They make good stuff.
Totally. I'm a cat guy too. I mean, we have had Komatsus and John Deeres, and we still have a bunch of, we have a Komatsu and a John Deere as well too, but Cat puts out some really good stuff, man. I always say a cat is the Cadillac,
I also like John Deere. I also like Komatsu. Yep. I also like Doosan. There's some stuff from Sany coming out. The thing is, every brand specializes in something that they make the best of, or top of the line, right? It just so happens Cat makes the best grader, the best dozer, the best, only scraper. So like they're winning in a bunch of different ways that way. But dude, there's every brand out there right now I'm excited for. Every single one.
Yeah, no, same. Yeah, it's really cool to see what the companies are coming out with now, as far as like, catering to the operator as well too. And I'm sure we'll see some pretty cool products unveiled at the ConExpo show as well. But I'm excited to see what else they can do from here. Like John Deere's got their thing. Cat has, their next gen cabs. Each one, like you said, kind of has their own thing, but I'm excited to see like, where do we keep going from here? Like that's what gets me excited. Like you said, the tech really excites you. And like, that's the same as me. Like, where do we go from here? Like the Cat grade system in our 325 and the 315 is like, the guys can keep grade with pulling back one joystick right now. Now I have different opinions on whether that's amazing or not. But it is incredible what they're doing now. And I think that that's exciting, is to see like, where do we go from here? Right? Like, where do you see it going from here?
I see it going to a lot of autonomous type stuff and semi-autonomous, like for example, that D10 that I tried out. I think I'm excited for a bunch of that type stuff, because there's actually a lot of applications for it. Yes, I'm all about operating and skills and stuff like that, but there's cool applications where this stuff can be used, right?
But is it used on larger? I mean, because like, see, our company will work on job sites that are, large commercial projects, and we'll also work in, like right now we have both ends of it. We have a commercial and a residential, and our residential crew is in someone's backyard. Like, are they doing? Are they using these remote controlled or AI, machinery in the backyard of someone's house? Or is like,
so there's a special use mostly right now in mining applications where the job is super simple, slot dozing, trucks hauling and dumping on the same path all day, every day. And to me, I don't like those jobs anyway. Like you don't need skill to actually do that as an operator. So I've been saying for a long time, like, I don't even care about those jobs for people. Yeah, it feeds people and stuff like that. But there's also like a bunch of remote locations where like it takes 4 hours to drive there a day. You could run that dozer from your house.
Yeah.
And employ younger people. Right. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. I don't know exactly the direction that it's going to go, but what I do know is we're now using a lot of construction tech, LiDAR and stuff like that to actually create reality within the metaverse, which this topic I know seems funny, but I don't think there's any stopping it. Our world is going towards that rapidly. And so, yeah,
I agree.
I can't wait to see kind of where that goes. Or maybe I'm not excited. I haven't decided yet, but
no, I totally agree. It is strange. I mean, there's so much talk. I mean, like you can buy land on the metaverse now and do this and do that. And like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think like Cat or John Deere or Deuce and everybody's came out with like an NFT or something yet. Have they yet?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
Not yet by any means. But I mean, yeah, it's interesting seeing something because I feel like construction is somewhat far behind. It's not, I guess. It wouldn't be fair to say. I feel like in the last 5 years, they've really had a push towards like technology. And like, obviously they're always trying to adapt like technology with it. But now it's like, like the automotive industry, they got electric vehicles and stuff first, but I guess we have to get the the actual technology to have batteries that are capable of like running an excavator all day in extreme temperatures as well too. But that's something that I'm really excited for too, because as a business owner, our fuel bill and everything right now is just disgusting to pay for. Fuel is incredible expense right now, and I'm looking forward to a lot of the battery powered stuff, which I think we're going to see in some of the smaller stuff. But what are you kind of seeing as far as like that sort of like, where do you see that? Like, do you agree with that? Do you think it'll work?
I do agree with it. I think we're a ways away. Like you said, they need to develop tech to, make it last longer.
Yeah. Those things get hot, man.
It gets hot and it's dangerous, when it gets hot, and it can fail. However, it's good for a bunch of things, as long as you don't have to wait 5 hours to charge for the day, like at break time or something. Yeah. Like most things last 8 to 10 hours, depending on how hard you run them, which is great for like a farmer that has cows inside a barn. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, right now it's not realistic, I don't think, on a construction site, but we're getting there. I am excited. I love electric because it has way more torque and power, and it's quiet and stuff like that. But for me, it will never replace the excitement of a, loud diesel engine in any machine, right? Just that raw exhaust that comes out. Like that is what makes you an operator, or the whole experience as an operator is so amazing. So
yeah, I totally agree. I mean, growing up, like we had this old 1961 Cat 966B loader. And I remember my most exciting part was like Dad trying to, it was like plus 40 out in the middle of the summer, and we still had to preheat the thing for like 30 seconds just to fire up. And just the plume of black smoke that would come out, and the sound of it firing up on it, and it would like sit at an idle like blah, 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 blah. And like that's the sort of stuff that I love. Like our dozer at work, when you throttle it up, the sound of it. So like I agree, and I feel like that's like even like an electric pickup and stuff like that, you kind of would lose that. Like that's the sense of like, that's construction, and we're doing something, we're working,
Yeah, that's we're that rough and tough blue collar, right? So
yeah,
going from that to electric with no noise, I don't know, it kind of kills the whole vibe for the thing. But
It's like I saw the Ford Lightning truck. It has a button that you can press, so it's like progressive sound. So it's like whenever you leave, a stoplight or something, it'll make the sounds in your stereo of like what the motor would sound like. I was like, I wonder if they would do that with machinery.
yeah, well, I'm sure they would. That's so cheesy. But whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Totally, man. But yeah, hey, that's the sort of stuff that I'm looking forward to see at future Con Expos, especially the one this year at the 2023 show. And I'm excited to see you there as well. I'm sure we're gonna have to share some conversations back and forth over maybe a beer or two or three.
Yeah, for sure. I'm down for that any day of the week.
Awesome, sweet, man. Yeah, man. The one last thing I want to. Because you're our first, so you're the first one to answer this. I'm going to ask everybody kind of the same question, and it is kind of, it is my first one, so maybe I'm kind of re-asking a question I've already asked, but just a longer date. But, in a simple answer, I guess, might be hard for someone like you and me with our minds, but where do you see yourself in 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I'll be trying to do what I'm doing right now. It's never going to stop. I'm on a life mission. This will only stop the day I die, and it won't even end because my kids will hopefully keep me alive some way, somehow, whether it's construction or not, but use kind of what I've built to do something positive. But in 10 years, just keep doing what I'm doing. Trying to make the world a better place, trying to help people, trying to educate and, be positive and spread that around.
Yeah. Well, I think you're doing a completely fantastic job at that. And I think that you will have a legacy that will carry on. I think the name Pushysix is something that will be and currently is on its way there, if not already. It is in my house, at least, a household construction name. And I genuinely mean that, man. It's not because you're on the podcast and I'm trying to sweet talk you. I wouldn't talk to somebody like this if I didn't mean it. And seriously, dude, you were one of the first actually that I saw doing this online. And, I want to thank you for coming on today, but I also want to thank you myself for doing what you're doing. And I'm pumped to actually sit down and have a chat with you, even though it's a short-lived conversation. And I feel like I could talk to you for hours, but honestly, dude, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at this year's Con Expo.
Yes, thanks very much for having me. I'm honored that you thought of me as your first guest. It's awesome. So,
yeah, thanks, man. All right. Thank you. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care. If you need to meet them, they're here at the CONEXPO-CON. You'll meet industry leaders and friends. You'll build new relationships in the community. You'll find the equipment, services, and the people within your construction field. Registration is now open, so save 20% off show admission with the promo code PODCAST20. Again, promo code is PODCAST20. I'll be going. Scott, you guys heard, is for sure going, and tons of people will be going. It's just going to be an awesome time. So check out CONEXPO-CON.com for more info.